All right, so kind of an overview for starters. I know a lot of you are familiar with the Fendt operating platform, Fendt Classic. Key thing to note here today is that a lot of what I'm going to say is going to apply to your various models that have the Classic cab, whether it be 500, 700, 800, 900, or 1000. There's a few features that obviously change here and there, different buttons laid out, different places, etc. I'll try to point out some of those differences as we go along. I know a lot of you are familiar with this, but this is more focused on new operators. Maybe you are a new Fendt owner or have new employees who are not familiar with the platform. So I hope that we can all learn something here today. I'm going to start here on the armrest. Key thing to note is how everything is color coordinated and a Fendt operating system. So we have orange buttons, we've got blue buttons, we've got white buttons, green buttons, and yellow buttons. Orange has to do with engine, transmission, blue with hydraulics and 3-point hitch. The white ones here are for electronics, GPS, etc. We have our green buttons here, which have to do with mechanical things such as four-wheel drive, diff lock, front axle suspension. And the yellow buttons are PTO buttons. Moving over here, we're gonna start exploring the multifunction joystick. All right, so we see here we have our multifunction joystick. The first buttons I want to look at are C1 and the C2 buttons. Those are our two cruise speeds. So when you have a cruise speed selected, there is a little light that lights up in the button itself. Now, one thing I forgot to note is that on the camera, it looks like all these little lights are flashing. They are not, they are on solid. So it's something to do with the frequency. So just bear with us in that. Cruise 1. So when that cruise speed is selected, there's a little light in the button that's on itself. It also shows in the display which cruise speed you have selected. So I have cruise 1 on. If I hit the cruise 2 button, it'll jump over to that cruise 2 setting. Those cruise speeds are obviously adjustable. We're going to look at that in a later session, how to change those cruise speeds. When cruise is actually engaged, those orange buttons or blocks will light up green to show you that your cruise is on. Moving down to our min and max buttons, those are our engine preset RPM buttons. For example, you may be doing PTO work, have your max button set for your speed that you want. For whatever reason, you might want a separate speed set, say for headlands or what have you. So those are preset, obviously adjustable, and we can set those in the terminal as well. Moving around to the side of the joystick, we have our little thumb wheel here. It slides up and down. What that is that adjusts the sensitivity of the joystick when we are driving in joystick mode. And I'm going to do a bit of driving a bit later after we explore all the functions. And I'll show you how that changes speed in relation to where we have that thumb wheel set. Moving around to the back of the joystick, we see here on the back, there's a little activation key, right where your index finger sits. That is a very important key to remember. And to you experienced operators, that's something that is just second nature to you. It's kind of like a doorknob on a door. You know, you got to twist it to open a door. It's there, it becomes second nature. What that activation key does is it needs to be pressed anytime you want to go out of neutral. So I'm sitting in neutral now. I want to go forwards, simply would push that activation key in and move my joystick forward, and we would start in a forward motion. Same as in reverse. And we'll look at some of those driving features a bit later. All right, let's jump around to the top here. We have a few buttons up top, multifunction joystick. So these two side buttons they're blue, right? So they have to do with hydraulics. They are remote control valves. So we have extend and retract, and we have float position here for the red remote. Over here we have extend and retract as a float position for the green remote as well. Those are obviously reassignable, and that is something we will be looking at later as well, how to reassign different valves to those functions. In the middle, we have our go end buttons. So we have the big ones and the side to side ones. Those are simply put our headland management buttons. So simply takes a number of sequences and sticks them into a simple push of the button there. That explores the main features on the multifunction joystick. Now we're going to go over onto our armrest. Kind of an overview here. We're going to look at what these buttons here all do. And again, we're going to start with our orange buttons. So here at the top, we have our range 1 and our range 2, or high and low range, however you want to say it. General loader work, I'm thinking specifically of this 514 here, around the farm, loading bales, loading your mixer, what have you. By all means, you may keep it in high range. Where we want to see the low range used is in heavy draft work, such as plowing, heavy tillage, and so forth. It's important to use that low range. Moving down to the next buttons, we have our TMS button. You can see the lights on, turn it off, and turn it on. What that is the tractor management system. The tractor decides for itself at what RPMs it needs for the application that it's in. For example, you're cultivating through the field, you come to a hill, your tractor's going to automatically to the RPMs that it needs to get up and over the hill. And as you go down the other side, it can relax those RPMs, and ultimately it's more efficient. There'd be fuel savings, unnecessary wear and tear on your engine components, transmission, what have you. So that's that button there. There's settings related to that. We will be looking at that later in another session as well. The button beside is the foot pedal mode button. So when I push it, it lights up. What this button does is it allows you to drive the tractor just like you would drive your car. So the further I would push in on my foot pedal, the faster I will go. That button deactivates the joystick mode. So you need to drive it with the foot pedal at that point. So a very handy feature when you are doing loader work. For example, you have one hand on the joystick, you have your other hand on your steering wheel. Handy to use it in that application. Our neutral button. What this button does is it puts the tractor in a rolling neutral. And what I mean by a rolling neutral is that if I'm on a hill and I will be rolling down, it differs from active neutral. What active neutral would be is when I turn that back off again. I'm in foot pedal mode. Active neutral, when you stop, puts you in kind of like a pause position. How do you know I'm neutral? Both those arrows are on in the dash. If I select a direction, see how the arrow starts flashing like that? Now it's on solid because I am driving forward. When I come back into neutral, that arrow starts to flash. It means I'm in an active neutral. If I'm in joystick mode, that symbol is a bit different. It shows an active symbol, and it also both arrows light up. When I select my direction of travel, I'm going to go forwards. Just one arrow lights up. Forwards. Neutral, active neutral there. Okay. On the side here, we see a little scroll wheel. Move it front to back. What that is a limiting switch when you are in foot pedal mode. So that limits how fast you will go when you have the foot pedal the whole way down. Also, what it does is adjust the sensitivity. So if full speed is the whole way, obviously we're going to be less sensitive the further back we come. So where this feature is handy is, say you're backing up to an implement, you're trying to just inch in there just where you need it. I would suggest playing with this dial here, because that lessens the sensitivity, and you can you move very incrementally as you push the pedal.
So Maynard,
Yes,
I
sir.
have one question that came in here. Do you need to be stopped to switch from low range to high range?
No, I don't think so. Can you expand on that, Ryan, a bit more?
Sure.
What's your thought?
Yeah, I think according to the book, you're supposed to be stopped, but you don't have to be, as long as, so that the tractor won't allow the transmission to change if it's going to destruct itself. The range change is actually a gear change. So you don't have to be stopped. You can be, as long as you're not under load, if you're rolling along slowly, you can do the range change and there's no issue.
Okay, perfect. Thanks for that. Okay, one more thing I wanted to show you with this dial here is the speed that you have this selected at shows in the display here. Notice I have it set right back at the back. When I want to go, if I scroll this the whole way forward, watch how that speed changes. So now I have my scroll wheel set right to the max, and my speed showing here on the display, 34.2 miles per hour. So this dial, it's easy to bump sometimes. You get out on the road and you can't figure out why you're not up to speed. Just check where that thing is set. And the next orange lever dial is the hand throttle, obviously. So that hand throttle does override TMS if you need it in that for whatever application you might be in. All right. I think that explores most of the orange buttons. We're going to go into the blue, and those are our hydraulics and 3-point hitch settings. So when you start the tractor up and you haven't saved your previous settings, your hydraulic lock will be on. So all that is all your hydraulics are locked. Your fingertip remote won't work. Your loader crossgate lever will not work. So you have to unlock the hydraulics. So how to do that? You push the button and that turns it off. So now we are unlocked. We have here our linear module control with our fingertip remotes. Notice how they're all blue along the base. They're also color coordinated. Those are all freely assignable within so we can change remotes. We're going to look at that in a later session as well. Over here, we have our crossgate lever. So this tractor is equipped with the front loader. So we obviously, it obviously works with as any normal loader does. Pull back, loader goes up. Push forward, loader goes down. Obviously we have our curl, curl back and dump. On the back side of it are two little buttons. I can see it here. So we have a 3 and a 4. So this is your third function button right here. Over here, if your tractor's equipped, we have our fourth function button there. Factory settings will be your blue and your yellow remotes on that crossgate lever. We also noticed before that we had 2 rear remote up here on the multifunction joystick. Let's not forget about those. All right. And we're going to talk about 3-point hitch now. Those are also blue controls. So same with the hydraulics. When we start up, we need to unlock the rear hitch. So by doing that, we simply pull up on this little lever here, just a single click, and that unlocks the hitch function. We can also unlock it in the terminal, but this is an easy way to do it. We have our hitch depth control here. So we want to change it over to 10% of the way down, 50% of the way down, 90% of the way down, whatever. That is where you change that there. The little stop button on the back here, what that does is if you're lowering the hitch and you want it to stop at a certain height, just click it and that'll stop the hitch. Say it's dropping, it'll stop it right where you push the button. Your hitch buttons can be assigned to your fingertip valve controls here as well. We'll explore how to do that later. But the key thing to remember is that if you say you have your rear hitch assigned up and down to this button or this remote here, the switch will not work as long as it's assigned to this valve here. So if just the thing to remember, if your hitch doesn't seem to be working, just double check where everything is assigned to. I'm not sure if I said or not, but the normal way to, or the factory setting of lowering and raising the hitch is on this button here. So push it down, hitch goes down, pull it up, and the hitch comes up. If you would have a front hitch with draft control and so forth, there'd be a separate dial here for that. Okay, let's bump over here. We have 2 little buttons here on the bottom yet. An auto front hitch, an auto rear hitch. What those buttons do is simply assign the up and down feature of your hitch. So we know if to up and down with that. You can assign that to your go end buttons here on your multifunction joystick. So your hand is up here anyways while you're driving and you don't have other functions saved here. Great place to just put your hitch for up and down. The big buttons would be for the rear hitch. The side to side would associate with front hitch. Have selected. Okay, white buttons. Those are our electronic buttons. So what we have here is our go end buttons. So in order for our go end here on the multifunction joystick to work, we need to turn that function on. It's kind of an extra safety switch. The next buttons down are our auto guide. What this button does is turn the auto guide system on in the tractor. This one here simply is your engage button. So it will work here. You can also engage it with your go end buttons if you have that set up. This is the factory engage button there. Okay. Green buttons. Like I said, we're mechanical things. So we have our auto four-wheel drive and four-wheel drive on 100% of the time. Auto four-wheel drive will turn off at speeds above, I think it's 20 kilometers an hour, and it will re-engage when you come down below that 20 kilometer an hour mark again. This four-wheel drive on obviously has it on all the time. Just turn it off. Auto diff lock on here. That one automatically turns off as well. Speeds above 20 kilometers an hour, and or if your steering angle is more than 12 degrees. Now it does not re-engage when you come back down under that 20 kilometer an hour range. It will re-engage when if your steering angle is less than 12 degrees again. Over here, we have our diff lock on all the time. These buttons here are our front suspension. So front axle suspension on, front axle suspension off. Over there. Now you also can lower the front axle suspension. You can let the pressure of the cylinders and rest down on the stops. And how to do that is you simply push and we hold this button for approximately 3 seconds. That'll lower our front suspension. To raise it back up again, we'll just push this button and hold it, and our front axle pops back up again. This is a handy feature. Say you don't have a front hitch and you need to hook up some weights or something on the front. You need to lower that down on the skid. That gives you a few inches of travel. It also can be helpful if you're trying to hook up an implement and say your hitch is a bit too low and you want to kind of leverage it up to back into your clevis hitch on your implement. Just try lowering your front end and just pivoting your hitch up a bit. Works great. Yellow buttons. These are our PDO speeds here. So we have 540, 540 economy, 1,000, and 1,000 economy. So that's where you select your speeds. So I want my 1,000 economy on. So I'm going to push and hold that button. No. I want my 1,000 on. I'm going to push it. The light comes on. And that is my selected speed. Now to actually turn on the PDO, that on and off switch is up here on your where your hitch controls are. There's a little button in behind here where your finger rests. To turn the PDO on, we have to double click this button for safety reasons. So a single click, the little light here starts flashing, and another click, and the light comes on solid, and our PDO is now on. It shows display there that it's on. Turn it off. Back on again. It also shows up in the front. That is, see that. So turn that back off again. Front PDO is on. It's on this button over here. Same function. All right. Actually, while we're over here, just going to show you the armrest adjustment here. We have a little latch here. If we pull that back, we can adjust the armrest up and down. This little latch here, we pull it in, we can adjust the armrest forward to backwards. So got longer arms, shorter arms, or depends where you like your arm on the armrest. That is easily adjustable there. If we look over here, we have our battery disconnect button or switch on the side console here. All right, I think we're going to move up into the front dash and explore some of the buttons up here. So what we have on this side are our tractor lights. So we have our field work lights here. We have our beacon light button there. Obviously our four-way flashers, our road lights there. What this button here does is turns on whatever lights you had on last. So if I push it, notice I had my two, can't quite see that button, but this light is on as well. So my cab lights came on. Say I had all my lights on, put these all on, and I turn off all those lights with a single push of the button. When I push it, all those lights will turn back on again. So it essentially saves you pushing a bunch of separate buttons. Down here, we have our rear wiper, rear window wash, and our rear window heat. But these buttons along the side here, this is our hydraulic trailer brake release. So picture you have a hydraulic dump trailer with hydraulic brakes, and you want to go park that thing and unhook it. Obviously, when you set your park brake on your dump trailer, your supply line is going to be pressurized, right? So if you want to uncouple that easily and make it easier for coupling up next time, this button releases that pressure to that line. The next button over is not something we use in North America, to the best of my knowledge. The next button over here is our loader soft drive. There's a two-step function to turning this on. So the first thing we have to do to turn the loader soft drive on is push the button. And I don't know if you can see it, but yeah, you can. The top light came on here, but this light is still off. So we push that button, that light turns on. Now we come over here to our loader joystick and we push our number 4 button. I'm going to push it. And I'm going to come back here and notice how the bottom light is on as well. So now our loader soft drive is on. Traveling across a bumpy field, what have you. That's how you turn it on. To turn it off, it's just those steps in reverse. So first thing we do is turn off or push our number 4 button here. Push it, go back, and push this button again, and our soft drive is off. These buttons over here navigate the display up on the dash. If any you've ever got error codes, you know this escape button here shuts them up. This is where we display or navigate the front middle display there. This button here, I missed that one, is our hydraulic attachment lock for a front loader. Brian, do I have time to show how that works?
Yeah, that should be fine, Maynard.
Okay.
We're getting
Alrighty.
close to out of time, but just keep going. Yep.
Okay. I'm going to try to quickly show how this works then. So how to act, we first need to activate this button. So I'm going to push it. I have my camera over here. The next step is to push my 3rd function on my joystick. We're our number 3 button there. So I'm gonna push that button and I'm gonna curl my, pick my bucket up where we can see it. And as I curl my bucket in, notice how those pins slide to the middle. Those pins are spring loaded. So now that I have them pulled in, I'm going to keep pulling that button to pull those pins in. As I can then lower my implement or my attachment back away, let go of those buttons, let go of the number 3 button, those pins will slide back into the lock position. So say now I've gone and I've hooked up my new attachment. And I hook it up to make sure my pins are pulled in before I send it back into the cradle, right? Now to latch it, I simply let go of the number 3 button. So it didn't slide out. But notice how they didn't slide into the latch figures in the whole way because they're only spring loaded. So I need to pressurize that cylinder to latch those pins in. So how I do that is just by curling the bucket the way back. When I did that, you can see how those pins jumped out into the latch position. So now we're latched and ready to go. Dump it down. Yep. All right. So that's that. I said I'm going to quickly show you how to drive this tractor. We have 2 modes for driving. We have our joystick mode. So, like I said, the activation key needs to be pressed to go to neutral. So as I push this activation key in and push my joystick forward, we start a forward motion. Okay, the further I push it, the faster we go. Come back into neutral or slow down, simply pull back on the joystick. I'm in a neutral position. To go in reverse, it's the same step, activation key in and joystick backwards. Going back, push forward, and come to a stop. All right. The thumb wheel on the side is your sensitivity, and maybe I can just show you slightly how much of a difference that is. Number 1 is very, very slight. So I'm gonna go forwards, have it down to number 1, and we just slowly take off, just creeping along. Same as slowing down, we just gradually stop. Now I'm going to put it up in number 4 and show you the difference there. So I'm going to go backwards this time. Notice how we took off a lot faster and we come to a stop. To shuttle directions, when we are moving forward, instead of having to pull back into neutral, push the activation key in, go into reverse, it's kind of a process there. Simple way to do it, so you're going forward, you want to go into reverse, simply push the activation key in and toggle the joystick to the left. And that'll take you in the opposite direction of the same speed as we're going forward. Foot pedal mode, we can turn that on, and now we can either select our direction on the joystick here, or we can select it over on the side of the steering wheel where your left-hand reverser is. There's a toggle switch here. So I'm going to select my forward speed, and I'm going to push my foot pedal in. The further I push it, the faster we go. Hit reverse. The further I push it, the faster we go. One thing I forgot to mention is on the PDO is one question we often get asked is how do I keep my PDO on to stay turning when I leave the seat? So normally for safety reasons, the PDO will turn off. I think it's after 4 seconds. Yeah. So what we need to do is make sure our park brake is on. So I have my park brake on. I select my PDO speed. I have my 540 running this time. And I'm going to push and hold my auto button here for approximately 5 seconds, pushing and holding it. And then see how the light starts. It's not really fair because it looks like it's flashing really fast, but it's just gently flashing. So now I can turn my PDO on here, and I can leave the seat, and my PDO will stay running. Now that function turns off after, like, when you shut the tractor off, start it back up again. You'll need to reset that in order for that to work. Okay, Ryan. Is there anything I missed? Any questions or?
I think you did a good job of covering anything. I don't see anything here in the chat that we didn't cover. So are you done?
Yeah, I guess one thing I could maybe show you is I didn't show up in the headliner here. The radio is up here in the 500. Here's your climate controls, fan speed, and temperature. Direction of blowing there. Obviously your AC button and recirculation button there. So yeah, I think I'm pretty much finished.